Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing a launch from the year 2020 to celebrate 60 years of the Grand Seiko brand. This is a throwback to the original 1960 model 3180, an extraordinary chronometer that set the pace for 6 decades of premium Japanese watchmaking to follow. So part of the Elegance Collection, this is the Grand Seiko hand-wound SBGW259. So SBGW259 looks a lot like the original, but here's the thing, it's made of a unique titanium alloy that has no precedent in historic Grand Seiko watchmaking. No, not high-intensity titanium. This is a special titanium that they describe as brilliant hard titanium, twice as hard as grade 5. At 38 millimeters in diameter, this historically inspired watch measures 11.3 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 45.3 millimeters, with a very vintagey 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So, on the wrist, my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that the lugs are well inboard of the edge of my wrist here, so you could wear this on a smaller wrist, probably as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. So much like the vintage watch to which it pays tribute, it's viable for both men and women. Taking a look, it'll easily slide underneath the cuff. It has a bubble-like sapphire, and it is a sapphire. It's designed to look like the vintage plexi, but give you modern scratch resistance. Now, the strap's a lovely piece, and you can see it's a bonded rather than stitched strap, so an adhesive holds the top and bottom layers together. Incredibly buttery calfskin on the bottom. Large rectangular scale, symmetrical scale alligator on the top. Always one of the best cuts of the animal. And you can see it's a gloss, super dark, almost navy blue. This is a really slick feeling strap. You can see it's brand new, but Grand Seiko straps, which are like the watch, made in Japan, they are wonderfully flexible, supple, and buttery, even without being broken in. It's a real mystery how only they can achieve this. Meanwhile, if you go to Patek Philippe, the strap is going to feel like a piece of rawhide until you've been wearing it for 6 months. So, score Grand Seiko. The buckle, titanium, like the watch. You could see it is a twin trigger release, so you have to press both triggers. And the internals are a combination of steel for the swing arm mechanism and for titanium. So titanium for lightness, steel for strength, judiciously used where appropriate. And of course, as with all deployant clasps, the idea here being to create a full loop around the wrist, so when you are donning and removing the watch at bedside, each evening and morning, you will not accidentally drop it. Okay, now back to the timepiece itself. So we have these striking straight lugs with a bit of a soft bevel on their flank, and then a round case that's cylindrical in profile. The idea is to recall the original reference 3180 with its caliber 560 chronometer movement. And this movement is certainly up to snuff, though it's adjusted a little bit differently than the original. You can see that there's a bit of faceting to the bezel. It has a sort of bevel and then a very shallow conical plane, and then it flattens out where it abuts the sapphire. We have a vintage logo on the crown, just the Seiko S here, so keep that in mind. On the dial, we have the blue that has long been an evocative and signature color for the Grand Seiko brand. Don't worry, that's just a fingerprint right there. The watch, of course, made of this unique, brilliant hard titanium, which is said to be twice as scratch resistant as grade 5, which is roughly equivalent to Grand Seiko's regular high-intensity titanium. That titanium, in turn, is harder and more scratch resistant than the grade 2 stuff. So this is one of the most scratch-resistant metal watches you will encounter without some sort of bizarre tool steel or tungsten carbide case. Now, the dial is a lovely metallic blue, and the dial furniture, I've often said Grand Seiko and Rolex dials co-equally best in the luxury class. The difference is Rolex dials are perfect because they're made by machines. Grand Seiko dials are perfect because they're made by the best artisans. So here we have Dia-Shock and a script that is evocative of the very first watch, as is the logo up at top. Keep note, it's signed Grand Seiko, not Seiko here, so just take note of that. We do have a hacking or stop seconds function, and the movement is very precise to adjust. It adjusts beautifully. And being a hand-wound watch, I'm happy to say that the winding click has the right combination of smooth refinement and tactile detent. Now, about this dial furniture, you can see that the Lancet style seconds hand has been entirely mirror polished. The hands at center have blade-like polished facets outboard and satination across their top. The individual indices are like cut twinkling gems. You could see they are faceted and brilliant in their polished mirrored finish. All these pieces are made by artisans who only make these pieces. That is their full-time gig. Diamond-tipped milling tools, they are then placed on the dial by hand and caulked into place. This is a 30-meter water-resistant watch, so don't take it swimming, but it's designed to be everyday usable. Adjusted in 6 positions, one more than a standard chronometer. You can see it has a ghosted Grand Seiko logo silk-screened under the case back, 72-hour power reserve, 4 Hz beat rate, a unique adjustment system that is specific to Grand Seiko, and actually this is a fully integrated manufacturer as the dial, the case, the movement, all made in-house. They even make things like their own hairsprings, adjustment mechanisms, shock protection, stones, and this is about as fully integrated as any manufacturer not named Rolex. They are about as integrated as Swatch is as a group if you include all of its companies. 6-position adjustment, accurate to no worse than -3, 5 seconds per day. Remember, a COSC chronometer is -4 + 6, so this goes above and beyond that. 24 pivot jewels with a beautiful recessed and concave mirror-polished ratchet wheel. You can see how the ratchet spring sits on top of a jewel just below. A lovely piece of eye candy. Lovely stripes across the bridges, mechanically but handsomely applied. The movement assembled and regulated by a watchmaker, not a machine. A gorgeous tribute to 6 decades of Grand Seiko and counting. This watch, when it was new, was a boutique edition, so the distribution was relatively scarce. As a result, we rarely see this model. If you love the SBGW259, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.